And we're live. Yay.
Even
Also,
gods may die. What the?
that is a line from a Space Marine, I swear.
Honestly, though, reminds me of the iconic saying "God is dead," which wasn't literal in the metaphoric sense, like the impact God has on civilization and culture. Died during the Enlightenment era, I believe.
Yeah, I just got a reply from Kay. He says he's out with dinner with his family. So if we're still live and when he gets back, he'll join.
All right, cool. So I guess I'll send a link to what we sent a link to Bats, right?
I
Well,
thought you did,
yeah,
but
I did.
yeah, I never heard back from him. I asked if he wanted to join. He never replied, so I'm waiting. But
Yeah,
but yeah, no, like there's this one channel called Russian Badger. He did a mod where they took the Space Marine game, but instead of playing a blue crypt, you play a red crypt.
right.
And if you have this mod installed, he's always trash talking.
Yeah.
Like my favorite one is the line where he goes, "Eat bolt gun." So, what is your knowledge of Warhammer, Dan? Do you have you played it? Because I haven't. I only know of it through like the lore.
I told you for the last time, Nathan, that while I have friends that love Warhammer, I've never been into it. At least not, not that much anyway.
I played the demo for Space Marine. It was fun. I just never got the game for some reason. I guess I forgot about it. But
Uh,
it's getting a sequel now. It recently was announced they were doing a sequel for it. They released a trailer for it and everything.
how do you feel about Henry Cavill being a part of the project?
Fingers crossed. I want to be hopeful. I'm not going to lie. This is something I want to be hopeful about because I'm getting into Warhammer and given the fact that Henry Cavill is a fucking nerd, yeah, I'd like to think he'd do it justice.
Yeah, I hope so. I heard Amazon's a part of it. Does that worry you considering Rings of Power and what that did?
Yes and no. On the one hand, it's Amazon, and let's be honest, they've ruined some stuff. They've ruined things harder than actually, no, probably shouldn't make that joke, but yeah, they sometimes ruin things. But then again, they've also made stuff that is done well, like Terminal List and Reacher.
Right.
So it could go either way. Is how I look at it.
Okay. That makes sense.
So I'm just looking at it like, yeah, it could go either way at this point. So I say just wait and see.
All right, I sent a link to Gunner. Are there any other friends that we know that you want to join?
That the no, the like Warhammer, I have no idea. Cat's the only one I know who actually has knowledge of it,
Right.
and he's out eating. So yeah, we're flying solo here for now. But
Uh,
but
uh,
yeah, the funny thing about Warhammer, I told Cat this, and I think he agreed with it. I said like Warhammer is the most memeable thing out there because of the lines it has. Like one of my favorite ones is also "Blood for the Blood God." And it just sounds funny when you hear it. Like there's a video collecting all of Russian Badger's bits about Warhammer, and they're funny. They're all funny to listen to. I mean, the only downside is it's a fucked up universe, Warhammer. Like it's fucked up, and you have to be fucked up to survive.
yeah.
Like I remember Sargon of Akkad or Carl Benjamin. He actually responded to someone who was saying that Warhammer is fascist, and I think the response was, "Look, to survive in Warhammer, you have to be kind of extreme and fascist-like." And for the record, I don't think the Space Marines are fascist. I just think they're a product of wanting to survive.
Mm,
But the weirdest thing is the Emperor himself. I find that story pretty weird.
right.
Like he was an atheist, and people revere him as a god. Like imagine if he comes back, what his response will be. He's like, "You did what? You think I'm what? What the hell happened? It was fine when I left." And it's just funny all around, just to think about. And the sad part is Horus. I find Horus's story kind of tragic.
right.
Like he sounds like he was okay-ish, and then I can't remember what Kat said happened to him, but it sounds like the Emperor did something that fucked them over. Hard to remember now, but the closest I've played to like Warhammer is like Space Marine Demo and Necromunda, which is like a bounty hunter mercenary game.
Right.
Actually, a friend of mine recommended it. It was Nemesis, or he keeps changing his name, so I can never get them all right. But yeah, he did. He added me. He's telling me about this game, so I asked for it for Christmas last year, and I played it. I haven't beat it, but it's fun as hell. Like you play a gunslinger in Warhammer, basically. Like imagine that you're in a world where people wear power armor and you're using a gun, like a revolver-looking gun, to fight them.
I'm more of a sword guy myself.
Oh, they have that in Warhammer.
I know they do. Because you and Kat have mentioned that before. Hey, you okay over there, Nathan? Yeah, he probably needs a minute. Ew, my eyes.
Testing. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. What happened to you?
Oh, it's raining over where I live, and the power went out for a couple seconds earlier. So
That's funny.
So we'll see. But yeah, no, they have swords in Warhammer. But here's the thing: I don't think you would like them because their chainsaw is mixed with a sword.
No, it's cool. You and Kat have told me about that before, so I'm familiar. I'm just saying I was just saying I'm more of a sword guy because you were talking about guns. I thought it'd be a good joke, you know.
Yeah, I'm a bit of both. I like swords and guns.
Hey, meet her in the middle. That's what I mean. Awesome, dude. How about sword guns?
Okay, that's a weird combination. Like a gun blade is hard for me to wrap my head around.
Or gun swords, as Seuss calls it in Gravity Falls.
No, I always call them gun blades. Ever since Final Fantasy VIII, when I got that, like when I was a freshman, I think, in high school, or when I attended the freshman academy. So ever since, I've just called them gun blades.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a weird time. I was getting play games back when the PS3 was still popular.
Yeah. No, but the benefits of a gun sword or a gun sword or a gun blade is that you get to duel and you get to shoot at the same time.
Yeah, but if you told me I had to pick one, like a gun to my head, you tell me I have to pick a gun or a sword, I'm picking a gun.
Right.
Because, like, if you bring a sword to a gunfight, you're screwed. I think.
Right.
Like, it depends on the gun you have, I suppose. Like, if it's a musket, I don't know, the guy with the sword has a fighting chance.
Yeah.
Because depending on how far away you are, that musket ain't that reliable. Like, the samurai, I think they did pretty well, actually, considering they were using guns against them.
Right.
Like, if you see the last samurai, you see them getting gunned down. They're still taking people out.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's like a revolver versus a samurai, I'm like, oh yeah, no, the revolver guy wins. The gunslinger is going to beat the samurai.
Unless the samurai speed is super.
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah. Fine. Brush past what I said. If the samurai gave into their inner powers and had speed beyond sight, they'd slash the gunner before they could even pull the trigger.
Well, technically, I think the samurai would also have a chance if they were using arrows. Because, like, let's say they just wait till the gunslinger uses all his ammo. It takes a while to reload those revolvers.
True.
So they could hide them in cover and like make them waste their ammo. Then either use a bow or rush them with the sword, depending on how far away they are.
Sadly, what gives gunmen the advantage over swordsmen is that swordsmen are close range fighters and gunmen are far range fighters. So, that gives them the edge. They don't have to get close to you to strike.
What is this? What is this? An episode of Deadliest Warriors?
Well, I'm just talking in terms of facts, Nathan.
Oh, yeah. I get your point. I was making a joke.
Oh, I didn't know. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, some of my jokes fly over people's heads like an engineer. And for anyone who has a problem with me saying that, I am technically Indian.
Technically? Dude, you should just say you were.
Well, no, I think it was great-grandmother or great-great-grandmother. She was a native woman from, I don't know, Arkham.
I know, dude. The point I'm making here, though, is that statements like that often get people canceled.
Okay, yeah, and also I'm not offended by Thanksgiving. I find it boring, but I'm not offended by it.
Right.
Also, for a controversial Native opinion, they shouldn't have lost. They should have worked. They should have done what the smart guy said.
Who are the smart guys?
The smart guy was a Native man. Like he saw these white guys coming, and he knew then they were a problem. He knew they were going to be an issue down the line, and he said, "All us natives need to come together and kick these white folk out." He was smart. He knew the only way they stood a chance is if they united. Unfortunately, the natives didn't listen to him. So, as far as I'm concerned, they didn't get what they deserved. But yeah, they kind of paid the price for being stupid.
Yeah, I've always been someone who's been for peace and love and coming together. So, I probably would have agreed with the other natives instead of fighting people. Try to, unite. But
Yeah, actually, he got a few of them to go along with it, but but it wasn't enough. I forgot what happened to him though. But yeah, he got man, his people got massacred.
wait, the natives?
Yeah, the native tribes all got their shit pushed down, as far as I'm concerned.
Wait, so technically your people got massacred, Nathan, because you're a descendant.
I don't care. They weren't smart. They should have been smarter.
Wow, how cold of you.
I'm sorry, but I tend to adopt some of Kat's points about like our ancestry when he said, if you're mad at that white people beat the shit out of your African ancestors, be mad at your African ancestors for not developing properly. I say the same thing of my native ancestors. I am mad at them for not developing properly. They were still a hunter-gatherer society when the whites arrived.
That is fair, Nathan, but honestly, we all are one species. And the fact that we divide ourselves among, like names of lands and nations and looks, it's like, honestly, I wish we didn't, because if we just all saw ourselves as the human race, imagine how much we could accomplish.
Oh, we'd get a lot done, but unfortunately, we don't live in the smart reality. We live in the dumb reality.
Yeah, well, you're the pessimist for a reason.
Okay, this is true. This is true.
Either way, dude, I really just think that it is so interesting that you have a Native American ancestry.
Yeah, once Sam just like send in a thing on Twitter for people to come watch Warhammer stream and other stuff.
How have viewers been going for you lately on your channel? Have it
On streams, I really don't expect much. In fact, I expect jack squat. On videos, it's a look. It's random. I really don't know.
Mm.
And I actually lost a subscriber while I was in Arkansas. Then I got one back, I guess, because of that last video I did.
What was the last video you did again?
Cavill is out.
Oh, wait. How on earth would that video make you lose a subscriber? I don't get it.
No, I made that when it got me one back. I lost one while I was in Arkansas. I was there for almost 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, so back to Warhammer. Yeah, the funny thing about Warhammer is just how fucked up it is. Like, you have all these groups of people. Like, you have the Eldar. Let me see, the Xena. No, not the Xenos. That's the slurred term for them, which I am fond of using. Eldar. The Tau, actually, I liked them till Cat told me what they do to people's testicles.
Ha!
No, they make you sterile.
It's funny though.
I know. I heard that. I'm like, damn it! I thought there was one group I could like in Warhammer. I was wrong. So terribly wrong.
Yeah, it's not all that bad, dude.
Yeah. But one joke I forgot to tell you was when I remembered I had a native in my family. I was thinking of a joke. I thought, does this mean I get profits from the casino?
Honestly, it means you get land, doesn't it?
I don't want land. I want money. Not reparations, just casino money. I don't want reparations. I consider reparations BS.
Fair enough.
I mean, one of my ancestors did own some black people, so although from what I hear, he was nice to them, so mixed bag.
Who was nice to them?
One of my ancestors, he was a slave owner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I still don't like him. He was a Confederate. As far as I'm concerned, the Confederates were traitors.
To the country for wanting to split off and be free.
Well, sort of. Not all of them were traitors. Like some of them were lied to about what they were told the war was about.
Right.
Like for some, it was about slavery. For some, it was they were just told, "Oh, it's about Federalists versus state."
Right, yeah. I mean, that's what I heard in high school. Honestly, Nathan, doesn't that mean that you consider the separatist traitors to the Republic since they tried to do the same thing?
Not really. The separatists actually seem to have a legitimate grievance.
The Confederates didn't.
The Confederate States of America, no, they were lied to, or a lot of them were, and
Yeah.
the ones who knew what was up, they were fine to maintain their slave ownership.
Oh, well, okay.
I mean, it's not like the Southerners were the only ones who had slaves. There were a few in the North who had slaves as well.
No, I know that. There was also there was also some lynchings in the North, and they were pretty messed up because you'd find the corpses hung from fucking tall buildings. And
Yeah,
people walking
they
down
look
New
like the
York.
night folk got their hand. They look like the night folk got their hands on them.
Yeah, exactly. It was all messed up, if you ask me.
Yeah, there were even some black people who had slaves. Apparently, I always found that weird.
You never knew about that?
I heard it a few times, but it's just one of those things you hear and you go, "What the fuck?"
It is true, though.
I've also heard there were black people who fought for the Confederacy. That was really a head turner.
Not really. I mean, there were black people that lived in the South, and there were some black people that agreed with the Confederacy.
Yeah, if everyone was doing it for the fact of state versus like federal government rights, I would have not had a problem with them because I'm like, yeah, I believe each state should handle things the way they see fit, but some of those people were lied to make them fight the North.
True.
So that's how I look at it. Is like they lied to a bunch of people and sent them to death. Like there's a recording of an interview with one of these Confederate soldiers. He talked about slavery like it was a blight on his country.
Right.
So that tells me that not everyone in the South was actually cool with slavery of owning another person. I mean, I
Well,
consider slavery an
course
annoyance.
not. Then I mean, like, I know, like the mainstream all throughout history, no matter what the civilization, always has these bold statements about who was a part of what and who believed in what. But in reality, if there's a large number of people that believe in something, there's always a small number within that large part that don't agree or have different opinions. I'm pretty sure there were many members of the Confederacy that didn't like slavery just as much as there were many that did.
Yeah, but here's the thing about slavery that always bugged me. I'm like, why would you want to own another person? That's too much responsibility.
Honestly, to me, it goes against people having freedom, which I am a believer in freedom in all ways. So I can't take slavery. I don't care who's the slave. It just seems wrong to me.
Oh, I look at it like owning a dog. Well, no, not exactly the same, but
Oh boy, you almost fell into that trap, huh?
I look at it like sort of how you would look at owning a dog. You have to feed them, water them, take care of them. Like
So,
slave ownership is that, but with extra stuff.
oh
At least
yeah,
for me at least, that's how I look at it.
right.
And no, internet, I'm not comparing black people to dogs. I've actually had nice experiences with both. Although, if you told me I had to pick one over the other, I would pick the dogs because
Oh,
I'm sorry, but I like dogs. I can't help it.
Nathan, these takes. You got to stop with these takes.
Like I'm going to tell you the same thing I told my mom about the language I use. I have said worse.
Yeah, you have. It's still funny though.
Yeah, like the only thing I don't like are snakes. Like I cannot stand snakes.
Yeah, most people don't like snakes.
No, I really hate them. Like if I had my way, I would launch a genocidal war against them.
So you'd eradicate snakes from the planet?
All the big ones, yeah.
I likely eradicate rats. Mice, I'll let stay, but rats gotta go.
What's wrong with rats?
What, you like them?
No, I don't. But what's wrong with them?
I don't know. I just don't like them. It's not even really my upbringing in New York. Even in Florida, before I moved to New York, I didn't like rats. I just have it's either their looks or how disgusting they are. For some reason, there's many things that I just don't like about rats.
Oh yeah, speaking of rats, I actually killed a bunch of them in Red Dead recently. Like, there's a encounter you can do, or saloons filled with them, and you can get a bunch of good rat pelts if you kill them with a bow and arrow. But you have to use the small game arrow though.
For a split second, I thought you meant that you actually killed legitimate rats.
No, I don't kill rats. I kill neither rodent nor human rats. No,
Wow, really? Okay.
I don't like them, but I live them, but I leave them be.
Right.
Hmm.
So if it came down to it, you'd let the rats stay, but you get rid of the snakes.
Yeah, I despise snakes with a passion, mostly because they're getting so big that one day they're going to be able to eat humans.
There were giant snakes back in the time of the Aztecs that humans would sacrifice their own to.
What?
Okay, forget you heard that.
I feel unsafe. Like, this is telling me there are female firefighters. I feel unsafe now.
Dude, I'm pretty sure I've met female firefighters before.
I know it's a joke. That's a joke that Oz used to tell on Night's Watch. Like,
Right.
someone brought up the fact there were female firefighters, jokingly, there are female firefighters. I feel unsafe.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he doesn't work on that channel anymore. I hope he has a YouTube channel because I want to watch it.
Right.
Like, he was funny. Like, he was very, very funny. Like, one time he got a guy to spit out the water he was drinking because of a joke he told.
Ugh.
And then as they're cleaning it up, he's like, "Yeah, my dad didn't like me telling jokes when he drank either." And then his friend's like, "The layers of that sentence there, guys. It's just,
Yeah.
But yeah, what's funny is about Warhammer, though, to go back to our main thing that we're supposed to be talking about. Another thing I like is there's all these deities in it, like demons. Like, if I ever see a Christian bitch about Warhammer, I'm going to say, "Motherfucker, it has demons in it, and you fight them. How can you have tried this? This
Yeah,
is like
the
this is
fact
like
that
Demon's
demons
Doom."
the fact that are in it at all is a problem for some people, considering their faith.
But this is like being mad at Doom because of some demon symbols. I mean, you're seeing a human kill all these demons. So I don't see the issue. And for the record, I'm not the biggest Doom fan. I didn't get into it till the 2016 game came out, and I got that in 2018. Like, around the time I started watching Razor Fist, I saw him playing. I thought, "Oh, this looks fun." So I'm like, you're killing demons with a shotgun, and the Christians are up in arms about this. I'm just left thinking, what's the problem? And he's gone.
Something wrong, Nathan?
Oh no, you went quiet for a second. I thought something happened.
No, I didn't go anywhere. I'm still here. I was just muted. Also, why did you type "eat bolt gun"? To who? To you?
No, no one. Sometimes when I do these streams and no one's on there, I just post stuff there for fun.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like I said, I've given up on the idea of this channel blowing up and having like the viewership of Weaponized Nerd Rage or any of my other favorite YouTubers. I just do what I want now for fun.
I mean, if you want to get there, then you have to follow. Well, I don't want to say follow, but you have to look at what they're doing and see if you could adopt some of it in your own way.
I
And
tried that; it didn't work out.
come on, dude. Don't be a full-on pessimist and easily give up on things.
Oh, I'm not giving up. I'm just doing the things that interest me. Now, I'm not trying to get big. I'm just going to do what I want and see where it goes.
All right, cool. If you want, that's what you want to do.
Like, I wouldn't mind collaborating with other YouTubers, but every time I try, I either get ignored or something happens and they can't join. So, but then again, I've only tried twice. So,
I mean, never give up trying, man.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah, now I'm just doing this for fun. Like I enjoy talking to people, so if I could get like again, if I could get David V. Stewart on one of these, that would be fun because he actually seems like a fun guy to talk to.
Right.
Like I still want to do a stream with him about pulp someday.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because he's a very big pulp guy. I'm guessing because he's recommended a few pulp books, and I think he's read some books that were supposed to be made in a similar vein to pulps, which are awesome to read. Like one of the things pulps have going for them is the concepts. Like you have Conan the Barbarian, Solomon Kane, The Shadow, um, Cull. Wait, did I say Cull already?
Call?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not looking at it.
Did I say that like while I was talking? Like I was going
No,
off.
no, no. You didn't say that before.
Okay, and then you have like this one picked story, Robert E. Howard. Like Robert E. Howard was a weird guy with the concepts he had. I love it. I'm really sad he killed himself.
Ouch.
Oh, it gets worse. He did it with a pistol at close range to his head.
Oh, that just sounds messed up.
Yeah, all because his mother went into a coma and she was never coming out.
Right.
But yeah, he was interesting. He was a very intense writer. Like there are can't remember if I told you this. There are two writers who I would say are the best who are writing machines. There's Robert E. Howard and Walter B. Gibson. Like they are Stephen King basically before Stephen King.
Yeah.
In terms of productivity, Stephen King, he's very productive. I have a feeling that's what Robert E. Howard and Walter B. Gibson were like. Like Walter B. Gibson wrote one of his stories while on vacation. Like over the course,
he had a
huh?
passion, didn't he? He had a passion, so he went for it.
Yeah, he was on some kind of. He went to some convention, I guess, and he was writing, I think, over the weekend.
Right.
It was, I think, Gangdom's Doom, which apparently they got death threats over that.
Yeah.
Because it was about mobsters.
Mm-hmm. Anything about mobsters, the mob gets pissed.
Oh, and this is in the days when Al Capone was still alive.
That makes sense.
And what was? But yeah, there was him. There was Doc Savage. The Rocketeer could technically be considered a pulp, even though it was made in the 80s. It's pulp-like.
Right.
Which I've read. It's pretty good. But unfortunately, there's only one thing of it made. The rest of it is just god-awful fan fiction by people who suck at their job.
Aren't you pleasant?
I'm sorry, but Mark Waid tried his hand at this. Now, does that sound like someone you would trust with the Rocketeer?
Old Mark Waid, maybe. Current Mark Waid, no.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I wouldn't trust Mark Waid to wipe my ass, let alone write a comic.
Dude, I don't think you should trust anyone to wipe your ass, if I'm being honest.
This is true. This is unfortunately true.
Yeah, I know you're going for like a metaphorical expression, but some of these examples, dude, are hilarious in a ludicrous extreme way.
I know, but like Mark Waid reminds me of the cops from Pine Bluff. They're about as useful as a cock-flavored lollipop.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're in Pine Bluff and you're white, God help you because the cops there are not worth a damn.
Right.
And I usually love cops, but those cops suck. Now the cops in Sheridan were okay, or they were last time I saw them, or last time I saw them they were anyway. But anyway, so yeah, that's Mark Waid. Yeah, like a bunch of people did like Rocketeer work. Like Razorfist referenced this in his videos about, I think it was Reject Modernity, Embrace Pulp. And he talked about like all the people who worked on Rocketeer content, and apparently it's all awful. Like even Kaluta worked on this, and he fucked it up.
Ouch.
Yeah. And some pulps actually never got finished. Like Robert E. Howard, he once Conan cut on, he stopped working on Solomon Kane, but that didn't stop him from trying. Like he had fragments of a couple stories left over that they never got to finish. Those were made into comics eventually. Which is weird because it's like you're taking an incomplete story and making a comic based on it. That's kind of weird. Like hipster weird. I'm sorry, hipsters are weird. They're stupid.
Yeah, some of them are okay.
Especially journalists, who I'm glad are losing their jobs.
Ouch. Well,
I'm sorry, journalists are scum some of the time. Like some of them are okay, but some of them are scum.
fair enough. That is fair. I'll give you that.
Same with the game journalists. They're losing their jobs left and right, and it's all their own fault.
You have no mercy right now.
I'm sorry, but game journalists have a job I would kill for. I'm not going to lie. If you told me I could be a game journalist and I was good at writing like fast-paced stuff, like if I could write really fast, I would take that job in a heartbeat. But no, we don't get that. We get pompous snobs who are high off their own farts. Who,
You know, Nathan, you're saying I'm sorry quite a lot. You might want to tone that down a bit.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry that they're losing their jobs. But any journalist who hears this and gets offended, you get what you deserve. Same with Elon Musk purging you from Twitter. You kind of had that coming too. It's like really, there's only so much sympathy you can give someone before you have to wonder, okay, how much of this is their own fault and how much of this is someone else's fault?
What the heck? Sorry, I'm reading something. Yeah, sorry, I'm just seeing these takes on Twitter.
What do they say?
Apparently these are takes about shit. Okay. I can't believe I'm actually gonna read this. I can't believe it. Ugh. Like they're not the worst thing, but I didn't take them seriously. 1 second, I'm about to pull them up again.
All right, go ahead. For it.
Here it is. This is from Eric Amarix, apparently Twitter user. Men, don't be emotionally attached to your children. A teacher doesn't attach to his students. A leader doesn't attach to his followers. A man who is emotionally attached to his children will be manipulated by his wife. Hashtag masculinity Saturday.
Yeah. Nope, I have no words.
Odd, right? Yeah.
I have no words.
This is what happens when you scroll on Twitter for an hour.
Well, I don't see that kind of stuff because I don't follow people who talk about that. I follow people, either YouTubers I watch or people who I have something in common with.
Well, dude, I just saw that and I'm like, wow, what is this? What am I reading? I don't know. I don't know anything about being an alpha male or beta male or whatever it is. I'm just Dan.
I'd rather be a Sigma. I'm not gonna lie. I'd rather be a Sigma male.
Yeah.
Like outside people who do their own thing. That's how I would prefer to live.
I prefer this to be relaxed, but honestly, these days,
Yeah, being an alpha sounds like too much of a headache. And being a beta, well, you have to be very weak to do that. But anyway, so yeah, like here's the funny thing about all these game journalists who lost their jobs. They lost it right before the Game Awards went on. And then they had Bill Clinton on for some reason. No idea why.
Yeah.
Like they had alleged rapist. Allegedly. An alleged rapist on there, and yeah, these are why I don't like take the Game Awards seriously. They're stupid.
Yeah. Low battery. That's the landline phone. It just keeps saying low battery, and I don't know. Whatever.
You gotta go.
No, I don't have to go anywhere. That just happens a lot. It's just a normal thing. It means I gotta plug the damn thing in.
I can't plug mine. I have to put my phone on a pad to charge because the plug-in thing keeps breaking on me.
Right.
Like it's like that joke Bugs Bunny had about women. They go to pieces on you every time.
Mm.
And I will probably get canceled for saying that. I will bet you money.
Nah, I'm not taking that bet.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I've probably been. If plus no one ever pays attention to me, so I doubt anyone gives a shit.
No, it's not that, Nathan. It's that I have told myself for years never to take a bet you're not sure you'll win. And honestly, that's why I don't take most bets. I'll only do a bet if I'm sure I know what I'm talking about. If I don't and I suck, then I pay. Literally.
Oh yeah, here's one weird thing. I remember Kat mentioned that Games Workshop. I guess they're trying to sell to Amazon now. I'm kind of left going, why would you want to sell yourself to Amazon?
Oh, some people want to be corporate slaves, I guess.
Okay, this is what George Lucas warned us about. You had all these good things being made, and they were being sold to companies who ruined them. Like, did they learn nothing from Star Wars?
I don't think people really give a shit about George Lucas. They only say that they understand George Lucas to be all trendy. Oh, look, we're progressive and we care about everything. Disney can do corrupt shit with governmental political groups, but it doesn't matter because they say they love diversity 50 times. These people don't give a shit about Lucas or his values or morals for that matter. All they care about is the current thing. And whenever Star Wars is considered controversial, all of a sudden Star Wars isn't the current thing anymore. Remember that these same people, Nathan, only got into Star Wars because they want to modernize it, which is stupid because George built Star Wars off of being timeless. These idiots don't get it.
Of course they don't get it. They're idiots. As you said, these are idiots who have no brains. They do not think 10 seconds ahead.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you do that to DC or Marvel. It's like DC and Marvel have had their rough patches, and DC and Marvel are anything but timeless. DC and Marvel, they can be affected by their eras. But stuff like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, those are timeless. And to take those things and ruin them, it's sickening.
Yeah, like it's almost like they're destroying stuff for the sake of destroy. They remind me of the Vandals, the people who burnt Rome to the ground. They're destroying. They're destroying something that is beautiful and admirable. And actually, no. They remind me of the people who caused Rome to collapse.
Oh.
But they sat with their thumbs up their asses. They did nothing to save Rome. They just let it burn, and they made it worse and worse by the day.
Right.
And I'm like, why sell it to a corporation? These fuckers are like imagine you're on fire.
Yeah.
Or your house is on fire. A corpo, he will run up with a gallon of gasoline and throw it in the fire.
Kill you even faster.
Oh no, he'll destroy your house while you watch.
Wow.
Like, I don't even have a joke to compare this to. It's like they will burn everything you love to the ground for funsies. Like, they are stupid. It's almost kind of sad.
Yeah, fair enough. What was that? Bag of chips?
Yeah, putting chips away so Odie won't steal them. Yeah, I'm talking about you.
Is that
He's looking at me like, what are you talking about? You. I'm talking about you, Odie.
He's in the chips?
No, he was trying to get into them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, it's basically like Rome. Like, Rome was this beautiful city. It had such marvels, such good technology that was ahead of everything. Like, some of their roads are still being used today, for Christ's sake.
Really?
Yeah, they were made to last, from what I hear. And then you had these assholes who ran Rome into the ground. It was dying, and they just helped speed along the process.
What do they call it? Strong foundations?
Yeah, I guess. Like, and the people who tried to save it usually got killed. Like Cicero, he tried to save the Republic. Look what happened to him. He had his hands and head nailed to a door in the Forum.
Ain't that nice?
Yeah, he tried to save the Republic, and look what got him.
Yeah, good point.
So yeah, you try to be a hero, you get killed, or you become something even worse.
What, you die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain? That's saying?
No, it's you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah.
Like I will always remember that line. I don't know who wrote that script, but they are fan freaking tastic.
Everyone remembers that line from The Dark Knight, but I don't know if that line necessarily was made from that movie. Like, I don't know for sure, but it's like it's very popular for being in that movie.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, apparently Whoopi Goldberg is on Kyle Rittenhouse's hit list.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently he's going after her now.
I don't know if that's the right terminology. Hit list.
Okay, she's on his shit list.
Yeah, that works too. I was making a joke, because the gun and everything. Well,
Yeah,
the mainstream accuses him of killing innocent people. So that to me, it's like when you say that she's on his hit list, all the jokes they can come up with.
Oh yeah, no. Everyone he goes after, I hope he sues the shit out of them.
Well, they did talk trash about him and try to demonize him, so it's his only right. Honestly, that's a great idea when it comes when the mainstream likes to pull this shit. If they talk shit about you and lie about you and it's all bullshit, sue the fuck out of them. I want everyone that's been affected by the mainstream this way, just sue everyone that's talked shit about them and stated cold, hard lies. The mainstream would never lie again because the shareholders and the people that run these businesses would be so pissed because their millions are being taken away.
I don't know, they do it again. Like yellow journalism has been around since the days of World War II and even before that.
All I'm saying, dude, is that if more and more people come up and start suing the media will bow to us, the common man.
That would be nice, but I think no, you're gonna have a Marat or two who's not gonna bend the knee.
No, like imagine if enough people do it at once, the bullshit will stop. Because if one doesn't work, another will be in their way and they'll be tied in all this shit. And the more people call it out, the corruption ends. Because, enough people complaining will bring suspicion. And then if the authorities get involved, oh buddy. They're in deep shit.
That would be nice. That would be nice, but I'm a little too fastened into this reality and cynical to believe they'd be smart.
I'm just saying that anyone that's been lied about by the mainstream, if they just come out and pull this shit, the media would be dead. And they'd have to rely on the will of the people to keep going.
Yeah, maybe. It's just like, but then again, they tried the same thing with Sandman. Like he tried to sue them and it didn't work out that well.
Neil Gaiman?
No, not that pretentious hack. No. What was his name? I think it was the Covington kids. They got slandered by the media.
What is Sandman?
What was the lawyer's name?
Oh, his name was Sandman? Wow.
Or it was either one of the kids or the lawyer. Hard to remember which.
Right. That's a depressing name for a lawyer. Holy shit.
Yep. Yeah, I would hate to be asleep around that guy. He'd probably assassinate me legally.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but what they tried to do to Rittenhouse, though, that was scummy. Like they accused him of every horrible thing of being racist, a white supremacist, saying he killed black people,
which was a full-on lie, killing black people. Yeah.
Yeah, the two guys he shot, well, no, the three, but the two that died were white guys. The third one was also white, one of whom was a pedo, a fan of the playground. So as far as I'm concerned, Kyle deserves a medal. I mean, he died. Like to quote Tucker Carlson, he died. The guy he shot died as he lived, trying to touch an unwilling minor.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. After all of that shit, I didn't trust the media before, but I had a bare amount of trust, but that just killed it.
Yeah, and the worst part was what celebrities said after the verdict. I remember that one guy. I think it was a LeVar, that black retard.
Oh,
He,
LeVar? Doesn't he play damn it, he was in Star Trek Generation.
yeah, he played the guy with the thing over his eyes.
Visor.
Yeah, he said this confirms that the system is favorable of white people only, or something like that. I'm like, the guys he shot were white. You fucking retard.
I don't know. I was watching something. Um I was watching like I think not a documentary. I was watching something where someone stated that if a white guy shoots white people during a black protest, that doesn't necessarily disprove racism, because apparently not just black people revolting against the system is considered is considered to prove the evils of white supremacy, but white people doing it as well proves the evils of white supremacy. So if a white guy kills another white guy during a black protest, that means that they're still showing signs of systematic racism or whatever. And I don't get it, but apparently some people have this mindset.
Yeah, it's like, and again, I go back to what Razorfist said on this subject on Friday Night Tots. Don't you just miss the days when you suspected these celebrities were retards? Like you just suspected, you didn't have confirmation, but you suspected it. We don't
Yeah.
have confirmation. Like even Keith David, who I lost a lot of respect for after the verdict, came out and called this a white supremacist move.
Keith David, that name sounds familiar. Let me look it up.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, that one hurt. That one hurt like a bitch.
Oh, Keith David. I've known him for a long time.
Yeah, I was so disappointed. I was like, oh, of all the people to let me down. Of
Keith,
all the people to let
because
me
you're a big fan of his acting career.
I like he's funny. He's very funny. I thought he'd be smarter than this, but I guess as usual, I'm left disappointed by the people on this earth.
Yeah, well, everyone has their takes, Nathan. The question is, are people being assholes about it, or are people being fair?
I don't think he was being fair. Just look up what he said.
Oh, what, on Twitter?
Or go to Bang into Comics and look up Keith David. There should be an article about it.
Yeah, okay. Bounding into comics, bounding into comics.
But yeah, no, Keith David was like my favorite thing I've seen him was a clip of a guy saying, "Hey, cop, I know you, man. I know what you're thinking. We got ourselves another crazy in with a gun. Well, let me tell you something. Human life means very little to me in this point in time. You see, I thrive on misery. In the jungle, misery is all you got. But things are different here in the world, or so they seem. No one wants to talk about pain or suffering. Everyone wants everything to be nice and civil. Well, okay then. Let's be nice. Let's be civil. And why don't you two boys put down your guns before I pull this trigger and change the way you feel about me?
Oh, wait, Keith David. I remember him. He was in Community. He played a character in the later seasons of Community, and he was actually pretty funny.
Oh yeah, he's a hilarious guy. He's very
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, he's a very funny actor. I just do not remember. I remember his face, and he's hilarious. But I
Yeah, this
gotta
guy
go back and
voiced
watch this stuff.
Spawn. He voiced like he was in the Mortal Kombat 11 game. He voiced Spawn in that too.
Oh, cool.
Like any chance he gets, I think he'll play Spawn. Like he really loved doing that.
Yeah.
And he did a fantastic. Like he reminds me of Kevin Conroy. He has a very commanding voice.
Right. That's fair.
Or I think like Kevin Conroy's the one who played Batman, right? I forget names sometimes.
Yeah, Kevin Conroy is the one who played Batman.
Yeah,
Wow.
like as their reviews said, his voice commanded respect. I could say the same thing of Keith David whenever he does a role. Well, when he's doing something serious.
Right.
When he's not being serious, I can still take him seriously because it's usually funny.
Wait, hold on a minute. 1 second. Okay. All right. Sorry, Nathan. For a split second, I almost thought I was on Twitter. I almost thought there was this tweet that said, in memory of Tom Kenny. And for a split second, I thought Tom Kenny passed away. I would have been devastated.
Who's Tom Kenny?
He played SpongeBob. He's a very iconic actor, voice actor.
Oh, yeah, I know his roles. I haven't heard the name before.
Yeah, I know. Oh shit, he's 60 years old. No, he's done animated works for a very long time. It's just, I've always been a long time fan of his, and I'm just tired of celebrities dying.
Yeah, for me, it's like, it's another day. Just another day.
Yeah, but like not all of them, but a lot of them played big roles in my childhood, and to imagine them dead just hits me the wrong way.
Yeah, the only voice actor who, if he dies, I'll be sad is the voices of Ed, Edd, and Eddie.
Oh, okay.
Because they have kept their mouth shut as far as I can tell.
Kept their mouth shut about what?
Everything. They haven't gotten political. They haven't said anything stupid as far as I know.
Wow. That's the reason, huh? That's the reason why that's it. Okay, that's hilarious, dude. So you're still able to like the actors for Ed, Edd and Eddie simply because they haven't stated any opinions that you find dumb or, different from yours.
Maybe even if they did, it wouldn't really change anything. I would still like their work. It's just I'd have a little less respect for them.
Well, look, the thing is, I don't have an issue if people I look up to have all sorts of takes, even ones that I don't agree with. What I do mind, though, is how they act and how they treat others. And look, if you're like a nice, respectable person, like, say, Kevin Conroy, and you believe in a lot of trendy subjects that I think are dumb, at the end of the day, I respect you because you're a nice guy and you treat people with respect. But if you're a hypocritical asshole like Jennifer Lawrence, then I can't really respect you.
Yes. For me, it's kind of the same. It's just behavior. Like, you can have a different opinion than me. It's just when you go over the line, like you just constantly dogpile.
Right.
And I'm like, do you have no life? Are you that pathetic? Is your life that void of meaning or something?
That's hilarious. I don't know. I just, these days, I guess what sucks is that I've been a fan of so many things, being a geek and all. But the fact that I'm apolitical, in many ways can suck because there's lots of celebrities and lots of people that I'm a fan of, and they all have clear political beliefs, no matter where they lean. They have all these beliefs, and I have this innate fear that if I meet them and they know that I'm apolitical, they'll hate me because I don't share their views or I don't have any views. The mainstream consensus is that, well, if you're not as politically active as the rest of us, then you're a lazy person, you're a horrible person, you're the reason why things aren't getting better. And it would honestly suck if the people I liked hated me because I'm not like them, at least not completely.
Yeah, no. If it was something like say Mark Hamill hated me, I'd wear that like a badge of honor.
Ha! Wow. Man, I can't imagine Mark Hamill hating me. He's been a big part of my childhood, dude. Imagine him hating me, man. That suck. I know.
I'm pretty sure if there was a hit list of like people who aren't leftists, like raging leftists, he would hate all of them. So, like, let's say my name was on the list and he found out who my name was, he'd be like, "Fuck this guy. He's a piece of shit. I hope he dies choking on his own blood." I can see him saying that.
What about you?
Yeah, like let's say someone made a list of closeted, like center right people.
Right.
and he found out I was like, I can see him condemning everyone on that list, including me. And I could be like, you know what? I wish I could say I'm disappointed, but then again, Mark Hamill ain't that bright. So,
Well, I don't think Mark Hamill would necessarily hate you in that kind of like. Look, I'm not gonna act like I know Mark Hamill. I never met the man in my life, even though I'd like to. But despite his opinions, and some of them are silly and some of them are fine, and I know how you feel about a lot of his opinions. He seems like a pretty much nice guy, and I think that if you're just civil with him and he's civil with you, things will go fine, even if you disagree on many things, which you both clearly do.
oh yeah, that's not the issue. The issue is, I think if you put him in a spot where he has to pick between being civil and appeasing his covels, yeah, no, he'll throw me under the bus like Eric Cartman.
Wow. Well, I mean, look, there's an interview. There's an interview where Harrison Ford, an interview asked him about Donald Trump, and Harrison Ford talks about you know what? Shit. Let me just show you the interview. Is that okay with you?
I wouldn't do that. Let's watch that after the stream is over.
Oh yeah, fine. But anyway, I'll describe it. There's an interview where an interviewer asks Harrison Ford about Donald Trump, and Harrison Ford gives some clear opinions about Donald Trump, saying that he used to like the guy until his recent times and in the political arena, and that he had respect for him. And then over time, Harrison said that, he doesn't see him as the same man he used to be. But Harrison also says that when it comes to the country, he believes that instead of the country being democratic, socialist, or individual, patriotic, I guess conservative or whatever, he believes the country should be met in the middle, meaning he's arguing for centrism. And it's clear that Harrison Ford has more centrist takes of anything. And Harrison is one of Mark Hamill's friends, like close friends. And it's clear they don't have the exact same political beliefs, because Mark Hamill is all about the Democrats. You could see it through his Twitter feed. And Harrison wants to meet around in the middle. So it's clear they don't agree on everything, but they're still close friends. So what that tells me, in your case, Nathan, is that I don't necessarily think if Mark knew that you were center right, that he'd hate you. I don't think, he'd like, I don't think he'd like you a lot either, but I don't think he'd hate you.
Yeah, you're probably right. But here's the thing. I think if, I can see the country getting to where if you're not on the left side, you're getting lined up against the wall with a bag over your head. I can see Mark Hamill going along with that, weirdly enough.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I'm not gonna act like I said, I'm not gonna act like I know the guy all that much, but based on what I found, I don't think he'll necessarily automatically hate you. Now, if you go into certain discussions and topics, things may feel uncomfortable between you two, but I don't think he'll hate you.
I only have one question for him. After that, I'm walking away. It's just, what was George Lucas like? Beyond that, I don't give a shit.
Oh wow, okay, Mr. Pessimist. You weren't the biggest fan of Luke Skywalker anyway, were you?
I remember liking his character, but yeah, no. Actually, no, I'd probably ask him what it was like to play Joker.
Right. That's what everyone wants to know. Me personally, the two actors I try to look for is Jake Lloyd and Hayden Christensen, because both of them gave damn good portrayals of Anakin. And I honestly would love to meet Jake Lloyd and tell him how much, he helped me in my childhood and inspired me and everything, because I know he hates his role as Anakin, and I know he hates his time in Star Wars because it did ruin his life with the assholes in the media. So, and I was like, I would have been Jake's best friend. I would have been there for him if I was alive during his younger years, because Jake did a lot for me. His role as Anakin inspired me in many ways, and honestly, I'd love to tell him how much positiveness he brought to the world and how many fans he has, because I get the feeling Jake believes that everyone hates him, and I don't want him to go the rest of his days believing that. I mean, it got him put in a mental institution over that, which is really a shame.
Yeah, that is a shame.
Yeah, I really feel bad for him. I don't know what happened to him. Rumors are out there that Jake got released out of the mental institution like a year back, but there's no official confirmation. And I know that him and his family are very private about that sort of thing. So, because of that, we don't know for sure, but Jake honestly deserved better.
Yep, he definitely did, and man, did he get screwed over.
Heck, Nathan, I even named my main character for one of my projects after him.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hey, Bats.
Oh, he's here.
How's it going?
Oh, hey, we were just talking about random stuff, waiting for someone to join us. We were going to talk about Warhammer, but we ran out of stuff to mention.
Well, you ran out of stuff to mention. I haven't even gotten into it yet.
Uh,
No, my friends keep telling me it's good, so I mean,
it is. The lore is interesting.
another thing I never really got into: Warcraft.
Okay, I'm right there with you. I could never get into that.
Well,
Both are fantastic.
oh,
Well, I should say Warcraft up until new lore. So basically everything up to, I'd say Cataclysm was good lore. Everything after Cataclysm, absolute dog shit crazy and stupid. Like once they started going into like time travel and shit, Warcraft just went completely down the tube in terms of how of its good quality of
of
story.
course, you wouldn't like that. Of course,
Of course.
of course. Were you a fan of the movie?
The
That's-
movie was okay. There were several things that they had changed from the actual lore.
Yeah.
And was it for the better? Not really. But I can understand why they changed it, because it wasn't as like in Warcraft lore, it's not this Hollywood fantastic show when things happen. Okay, it's like when someone gets murdered, it's like a real life murder. Someone just gets killed, and then you find out that, oh, this person was just, stabbed and then they died. Like, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal because, like, if the king dies, if a squadron leader dies, it's a big deal because it's like this person's the one who's supposed to lead the way and make things great. And that happens in Warcraft lore a lot. It's like these people are great people. These are people who have some level of prominence and greatness to them in the lore. Not that you as a reader or you as a player are experiencing this greatness. It's like, oh yeah, here's a guy. This guy was the veteran of this war, and he has all these accolades and all these honors, and then he's just dead. And you're like, oh, okay, I don't even know that character. But in the lore, everyone's like, oh, this guy was a great man, and he was a hero when we needed him. He saved children, and oh, I knew him. He was my neighbor. Like, in the lore, people are a big deal. And you, Dan, you would love Warcraft lore from the perspective of just the different multi-layered tiers of it. Okay, like you have the street tier where it's like the commoners, the everyday people. Then you have the elemental tier where you have shamans and druids, and then you have nature and jinn. They're all like connected with each other. And then you go to like the dragon realm, and the dragons are like the middle of the ground, or they're actually probably the core of everything. They're right in the middle of the normal people, the fantastical elements of nature, and they're connected to the cosmic.
Right.
Okay, the dragons in Warcraft were created by the cosmic entities. The purpose of the dragons, the main dragons on Azeroth, they're the guardians of the elements. Not that they are the elements themselves. So there's a time dragon, there's a life dragon, there's a magic dragon, there's the dreaming dragon, and there was the Earth Dragon. The Earth Dragon went insane by a cosmic being. A cosmic entity corrupted him and made him insane. So he dubbed himself as the Death Dragon.
Right.
And his objective was to run out and kill people. And then the additional dragon flight that was created. So like the black dragons, they were created artificially created artificially and rebranded as the Death Dragon flight. And then the other artificial dragon flight that was created was the Undead Dragon flight, which an undead necromancer or Lich King, he is the one who created the Undead Dragon flight. And they're basically just mindless slaves with maybe one or two who have some level of sentience and forethought. But they are effectively undead. They can't procreate like any of the other dragon flights. And there's a lot of nuance and a lot of interconnected politics and influence to every single character, to every single aspect of it. You know, like part of why the Black Dragon, why he rebranded to being a Death Dragon, is during a great war that had happened, a lot of his flight was wiped out. So his character went into this madness stage. Also, his job as the Earth Dragon was to protect the other dragons. He's the frontline tank man. So his perspective was, well, since I'm the one who's the front line doing all of this aggressiveness, you all should be subservient to me. All right. Then you had the blue dragons. They also suffered a great loss. They suffered more than any other dragons. They were the spellcasters. And so that made the leader of them, he went insane with the help of the Death Dragon. He went insane to believe that all mortals are at fault, and all mortals are the reason that we got to protect the world from these chaotic influences of mortals. We have to protect the world from the chaos of the cosmic beings. Like, he went on a whole tyrannical spiel himself. And like, again, Warcraft has all kinds of interconnected and really deep lore for every single character up until Cataclysm, when they just start breaking down and ignoring any sort of depth. It's just, hey, how can we get these factions to keep fighting in a perpetual war that always results in the death of hundreds of thousands, that realistically speaking, Azeroth should be severely depopulated if that's how the war of escalation kept on going.
That actually sounds interesting. I should probably research that stuff.
I'll look into it. It sounds fun. I will say though, tired of hearing the word politics. But I get what you mean. Well, the in-universe world politics. I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, it's not like there's politics, but there's also like there's like just dynamics. Like if you go right down to the adventuring party, there's a like office politics there. It's like, oh, the dwarf here, he always likes to get drunk, and the one time he got drunk, a bear walked up on our stash of food and stole it from us. You know, it's like D&D level of just comedy, but it's also serious within lore. So they have a lot of cultural references, a lot of movie references.
That's cool.
I forget. They have Harrison Jones in it. Oh. And Harrison Jones, you find him at every archaeological dig where he has to deal with Schnatzis. And the Schnatzis are these comically hilarious villains who are always stealing archaeological finds. And so Harrison Jones, he has an abnormal fear of, I think, snakes and cats. And you can pretty much guess based on how this guy looks that he's he looks like Indiana Jones. Yeah. And he's always finding himself in the most ridiculous and insane circumstances. You know, there's just all kinds of just fun characters like that. They have the Grinch, and the Grinch doesn't like Father Christmas. I'm sorry, Father Christmas. And Father Christmas is this big jolly old dwarf who has all these little gnomes that are his workshop toy makers. And the Grinch is this gigantic yeti that once a year he terrorizes the dwarven snowlands, or what are they called? I forget what the dwarven homeland is called. But yeah, the Grinch likes to terrorize them and hunt them down. Then you have like in Theramore, you have these like traditional like 14th and 15th century pirates, and they have these fantastical fleets and ships, and they have everything from the peg legs to the eye patches, the big triangular hats, saber swords. Like it's the entire universe is just fantastic with all kinds of fun things like that.
Right.
Hey, and by the way, me and Dan were talking earlier about the announcement that Henry Cavill is doing a Warhammer series. What are your thoughts on that, by the way?
I'm very optimistic for that because just the more and more I hear about it, it sounds really good. I wanted to spurg about Warcraft before I start spurging about Warhammer, because Warhammer is a lot like Warcraft, except for dialed up to the nth level and way more serious.
Let me guess, Spats. Warcraft is fantasy and Warhammer is science fiction.
That's very close. Warhammer actually has two divisions. There's like Warhammer 40K, which is the future. Yeah. Warhammer 40K includes things like Warhammer 30K, and then there's Warhammer Fantasy. Okay, they're both, like, how to articulate? It's like they're both not quite in the same timeline, but sort of in the same timeline.
Yeah, like
alternate timelines.
They're sort of alternate timelines, but they're sort of parallel as well, because
isn't Warhammer Fantasy, isn't that like what Necromunda's in?
I have no idea who Necromungum is.
Necromunda.
Is Odie okay, Nathan?
Yeah, I have to give him some food real quick. I'll be right back, guys.
Give the dog his chips, Nathan. He deserves them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Warhammer is Warcraft, but darker.
Yeah.
Warcraft spawned from Blizzard attempting to make Warhammer, and then Warhammer cut out on the deal. They said, no, we're going to drop this game of yours, and we're just going to do our own thing. So then they were like, well, we already made Warcraft, or we already made this Warhammer game. That was actually StarCraft, not Warcraft. But they were like, we already made this game, so why don't we just roll with it? And that's also what helps make Warcraft. And because I guess I don't remember if it was StarCraft was supposed to be Warhammer 40K, and then Warcraft was supposed to be Warhammer Fantasy. But they're two different branches. Their fundamentals are the same. Okay, how the warp works and how the different factions interact with each other. But they're both significantly different. In Warhammer has like in Warhammer there aren't elves, they're Eldar, which Eldar are basically space elves. But there is no real, like, as far as we know, there is no direct connection of Eldar and elves. It's just the Eldar are on a different planet. They're a completely different race of species. And then you have the different factions within Warhammer 40K, like the Tau, the Orcs, the Tyranid. You have Necron. And Warhammer 40K gets to a point where they don't care about physics. Like, physics matter, but then they don't matter, because it's great sci-fi in that regard, where they just say, hey, this is a really cool idea, let's do it. And that's like also another big thing with 40K, as far as I know. The gods in 40K don't really get that involved. And I know if there's a Warhammer 40K fan out there, they're screaming at me right now. What do you mean? As far as I know, they're not as involved as they are in the fantasy verse. The fantasy, they're really involved with sending champions and sending all kinds of just really horrific creatures that are like right next to the gods themselves. Like they'll send their right hand man. So where with 40K, the gods just kind of like pick champions willy-nilly, like, oh, I'm gonna make you a champion and bring you back from the dead and send you back out and things like that. But also like Warhammer, and from the few books that I've read, or not read, but audiobooks I've listened to with 40K, 40K is very dark and morbid. It's disgusting. It's intended to be. It's meant to really dig into your psyche and dig into your skin just to make you feel uncomfortable. I've listened to like an audiobook of parts of an audiobook. I haven't even finished the book of a Warhammer fantasy, and it doesn't strike me as dark and as disgusting as 40K has. Like 40K goes into like the psychological torment of slowly being digested and consciously being aware that you're slowly being digested over like 1,000 years. You know, like that's like, whoa. Where 40K is, or I'm sorry, fantasy is like, oh yeah, you can see this guy with all sorts of like infected skin and pustules and just the morbidness of his appearance, but they don't really dwell on it as far as I know. Where 40K does. 40K is like, it's meant to traumatize you and make you realize how horrible chaos is. And also it doesn't seem like in fantasy, it doesn't seem quite like everyone has this, everyone has like their egos, but it's not as prevalent or as important as it is in 40K. In 40K, it seemed like that's a big deal. Because in 40K, the main human faction, the Imperium, they're basically space communists. So their whole shtick is everyone has to prove their life is committed to the cause. And if you don't prove your life is in it for the cause, then you aren't really in it for the cause and you're probably a traitor. And if you're a traitor, then you have to die. And it's this whole vicious cycle of everyone trying to prove they're really in it to serve the emperor. And when you operate this way, surprise, surprise, you get bad apples who will get into a position of power and then manipulate everyone else into doing bad things. And that's a part of, if you ever want to get into Warhammer 40K, highly suggest starting with the Horus Heresy. That's like the best place to start. That's where I think most Warhammer fans would recommend you start, is just start there and work your way forward from that. And
okay, is this like a part of a book? Is there any books that deal with the Horus Heresy, like stories involved in it?
I'm glad you said that, because there is, I want to say the entire series of Warhammer is called the Black Library, but that might just be a part of the Warhammer library itself. But yes, there are a lot of freaking books, a lot, an insane amount of books for Warhammer 40K.
Oh, good.
And for Warhammer in general. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I've heard of the Horus Heresy. Part of me is hoping that's what the series Henry Cavill's working on will be about.
I know Warhammer fans are probably like, hey, do this one about the salamanders, or do this story about the is it the Raven chapter? They're probably thinking of all these different chapters. Henry Cavill, he knows the chapter he's going to write about. He knows the story he's going to write about because he's a nerd. He's a fanboy for it. My ignorance, my limited knowledge of it, I think it would be awesome to see Henry Cavill as Nathaniel Garrow because he is an absolute badass character. He is an underdog. He's like a former Grey Knight, Nathaniel Garrow. He's like a former Grey Knight, but he's like a Grey Knight, but not technically a Grey Knight. A Grey Knight is basically an Imperial Inquisitor. And they're fucking cool. Like, if you ever play Warhammer or play any of their games, get the Grey Knight units because they're probably your best unit in that entire game because they're just OP.
Okay, yeah, I never played any of the Warhammer like tabletop games. I played a demo for the Space Marine game. It was fun.
Oh, Space Marine, the one that came out in like 2013. That is a good game. I wish they made video games like that one more often.
Yeah, I remember it came out when I was a freshman, I think, like in 2009 or 10.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. It goes back to what games were like in the 90s, where you only really had 2 buttons. And you don't need to be more complicated than that. Like, you just walk up to thing, smash. Walk up to thing, interact. Walk up to other thing, and jump. Like, it's really simple. It's very nice, and the story of it is very nice. It's a very well done story. It's a great story if you want to pick up anything about Warhammer as well, or Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, I remember. Is there a group in Warhammer called Death Watch?
I've heard of it, but Death Watch is like such a generic name that.
Okay, never mind then. I could swear I remember there was a game where it was implied that maybe the guy that tied us after that game he was in, he may have been put in Death Watch to like atone for like his supposed crime. I can't remember what they do though. But yeah, like the Inquisitors, those guys sound like assholes. I'm not gonna lie from what I've heard of them.
Oh yeah, the Grey Knights in Warhammer. Here's the ridiculousness of Warhammer. Okay, the fantasy isn't quite this ridiculous, but the characters are this ridiculous. The Grey Knights, if you were to just say on a planet, demon, just say it. That is warrant. That is authorization for a Grey Knight to say, destroy the entire planet. And they have the command to do it. They go back up to their ship. They say like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I've seen enough here. All right. You guys have a good day. Go back to the ship. Annihilate the entire surface. Just scorch the entire thing. Any living population, destroy it. And then this battle cruiser, this dreadnought class ship just opens up and annihilates the entire planet.
Damn.
Because one guy said demon. Okay, that's the one. That's the absurdity of the of Warhammer 40K. But that's also the power of a Grey Knight. Now, I played what's the game? Dark Crusade. Dark Crusade. And I hate that fucking game. It's an RTS. I hate those type of RTSs to begin with. But the only unit in that game that I like are the Grey Knights because they are the only fucking unit that is competent at anything. It's like, hey, Grey Knights, I need you guys to go here and do this thing. And they're like, got you, boss. They go there and they do that thing. And it's like, wow, at least someone is freaking useful in this entire goddamn game.
Yeah. Wait, who is the best soldiers in your opinion in Warhammer? Like, if you were to fight a god in Warhammer, who do you think has the best fighting chance?
To fight a god in Warhammer?
Yeah.
Are you including the fantasy and 40K or just one or the other or separately?
Just 40K or both.
40K.
Matter to me.
40K. I would probably say the Grey Knights. I know there's probably there's people more powerful than the Grey Knights. Like there's the Primarchs, there's the Primarch's Guard, there's the Emperor's Guard. Not to give you a spoiler, but there's in the Nathaniel Garrow series, Nathaniel Garrow is technically the commanding officer until a right-hand guard of the Emperor, he shows up. And they do a good job articulating how badass this motherfucker is. And him and Garrow spar, and he completely annihilates Garrow. Just throws Garrow right on his ass. And he tells Garrow, fall in line or I will kill you next time. And spoiler alert, they do fight a next time. And it's great. It's great. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's great. Highly recommend it. But I would definitely take a Grey Knight. If I'm fighting a god, I would take a Grey Knight.
Okay.
Or a squad of Grey Knights. Probably a squad would be preferable.
Oh yeah, I've been
also another one would probably be like the Sisters of Battle. Those ladies are also insane, but great.
Okay, I guess I was thinking like who has the better army. I would suppose, just in your opinion, for fighting a god. That's the main thing I was wanting to ask. Was just your opinion on that.
Oh, for fighting a god, probably the Space Marines. The Space Marines are probably the best. The Imperium.
Okay, that's the one I usually like. Like whenever if someone ever asks me which Warhammer faction do you like, I would say the Imperium of Man.
Yeah.
On what grounds? They're human.
Well, like again, it depends on like with Warhammer. When you talk Warhammer, there's a lot of nuance. So like if you're talking like game mechanics, you can piss off Warhammer fans. If you're like, okay, we're going into a fight, what do we have to fight them with? The optimal, like gameplay wise, for the longest time was the Tau, because the Tau's artillery and their unit rules were just so overpowered that like players would just get mad and upset that the Tau could just annihilate everyone with their pieces. But that's in tabletop. That's not like in lore. In lore, it's hilarious how they were almost wiped to extinction. And I want to say it was the involvement or the entrance of the Tyranids that made the Imperium just completely forget about them. So the Imperium was like annihilating them. And then they were like, all right, we have bigger problems at home to deal with. Let's just fucking leave. And then they left. And the Tau were like snobby little assholes saying, oh yeah, we'll fuck your Imperium up. And then so it's like, oh really? And then they fucked up the Tau and pushed the Tau back to like their home world. And so like the Tau were on their last freaking leg when the Tyranids attacked. And that forced the Imperium didn't like, oh, we're gonna like the Imperium were like, okay, these guys are pushovers. We're gonna come back to this later. Like we have something to report back home to deal with. So we'll be back. And they never got a chance to get back because, the Tyranids are like this endless Zerg, this flood of creatures. They're like the Reavers from Firefly. They're like the Zerg from StarCraft. They're like the undead in fantasy. They're just an endless swarm of dudes that attack. And they're like mindless.
Holy shit.
Yeah, Warhammer sounds awesome. I need to get my hands on some of the books.
Yeah, definitely worth listening to the audios. The audiobooks are fantastic. There's a lot of YouTube videos you can watch. Major Kill has some videos. Arch has some videos. Like these guys are huge Warhammer nerds.
Arch, I know him. I actually am subscribed to him. I haven't watched any of his videos for a while.
Yeah. He's got a lot of videos that delve very deep into Warhammer lore. He actually has a series like beginner's guide, like everything you need to know, and it's like probably over 200 episodes of just him going topic by topic, like explaining the beginning with the gods, explaining the warp, explaining the factions. Like he goes over it just very well and in detail. I've only made it through like 5 of his videos. I stopped because I was going to be a part of a campaign for Warhammer, and then I realized that campaign was a comedy. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be a part of a comedy. I want to be a part of the real thing. Like, I want it to be immersed in that lore. So I stopped my research at that point.
Okay, yeah. Actually, one thing I do find interesting about Warhammer is I remember Critical Drinker was I can't remember if I told you this. I was watching Critical Drinker talk about Warhammer, and he basically described it as like a meat grinder. Like you're
Yeah,
sending
that's accurate.
yeah, you're sending wave after wave of soldiers to die, sometimes for nothing.
Yes. Well, that was the whole thing with the Sword of Truth with Nathaniel Garrow. Okay, it's this fleet is coming back, this lost fleet. Okay, this fleet is coming back to to Earth, and there is suspect. They're like, okay, we need to search the ship to make sure there is no chaos and corruption on it. Okay, because you guys have been long gone. Like you guys have been out of contact with everyone for like, I don't know if it was 20 years or 40 years. It was a really long time. And so they were like, okay, we need to make sure you guys aren't corrupted and tainted. And the plot was there was a heretic on the ship, in this convoy of ships. And the heretic planned to get close to the emperor to assassinate them. And Garrow, his plan was to find the heretic and kill them so that the rest of the convoy could make it through. And it's this whole plot and conspiracy and all this cool stuff. Nathaniel Garrow, he has to get this. He creates this team of unlikely people to work together. Like he gets this psyker who a lot of people in the Empire turn their nose up at psykers because they're messing with magic and heresy and all kinds of things.
Sorcery.
But they're a necessary role in the entire Imperium because they actually have the ability to absorb and resist chaos and resist all sorts of magical things. At the same time, they're tempting themselves to fall into chaos. So it's a balancing act. But most of the Imperium do not like psykers because of this duality that they're juggling. So everyone's always suspect of them. But Garrow needs a psyker because he needs someone who can look into the mind of another person and find out if they're an ally or an enemy. And so like the Emperor's Guard dude that I was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
the psyker looks into his mind and the Emperor's Guard knows this. He's like, yo, do not do that to me ever. But he gets enough to then tell Garrow, hey, he's a good guy. He's on our side. We're in this together. And, you know, when you have that type of power, you can look at like the X-Men, you can look at it like superheroes, where it's like, I don't trust someone who could just jump into my mind and take whatever they want. You know, part of why Charles Xavier doesn't do that is because he feels that that's an invasion of someone's privacy, because it is. And so like, that's a dynamic in Warhammer. But yeah, so Nathaniel Garrow, his whole point in this entire story is he's trying to tell the Emperor's right hand man, don't condemn the fleet. It's only a small portion of them that are fall into chaos. They're corrupted. If you kill this entire fleet, chaos will win, because now you're telling the rest of the Imperium that it's okay to just exterminate mass life. It's okay to just turn brother against brother. And you're creating this domino effect that's going to ripple throughout the universe or throughout our empire. Everyone's going to hear about this mass extermination of civilians. And the Emperor's right-hand man is like, you would risk the life of the Emperor just for some civilians. Like, no, this is how corruption wins, is you're compromising with them. And it's a fantastic dynamic of Nathaniel Garrow here, who's bound by duty, but while bound by duty, he's connected to his humanity and saying, this is, you know, an entire fleet full of people with these gigantic laser battery guns ready to tear the fleet apart. And they tell you in detail how fast these batteries can annihilate the fleet. And they reference like, oh, this happened several months ago where a fleet tried to run, like this gigantic dreadnought tried to run past this blockade, and it got torn apart in like 20 seconds. A gigantic dreadnought, like a dreadnought with almost a planet's worth of population on it, annihilated in 20 seconds. Like, it's fantastic. But that's what's interesting. That's what was interesting about the story to me, is that Nathaniel Garrow breaks the mold of these amped up test tube man babies. He breaks the mold and is like, we're humans. We should be looking out for each other. We should be understanding that every life is sacred, and we shouldn't just callously say annihilate an entire planet's worth of people.
What's this story called again?
It's called The Sword of Truth. It's part of the Horus Heresy, and I want to say it's a part of the Black Library.
Okay, I'm writing it down now to look it up later after Christmas.
Yeah. There's another one which is Horus Rising. I think that's technically the start of the Horus Heresy, but I jumped in right at that one, at the Sword of Truth, and it was fantastic. I absolutely love that one. And there's a bunch more stories about Nathaniel Garrow, and it's like I think I have a few of them, but I definitely want to dig into those when I get around to it, because, like I said, they're all fantastic.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to look some more of these up later, but actually, I might just get them on audiobook.
Yeah. Like I said, I'd recommend, if you find the audiobooks of them, highly recommend. Very well done. Another one that's fantasy that's interesting is Felix and Gotrek story. They're freaking cool. Felix is a thief and a bard who, his whole thing is he wants to tell stories about Gotrek. Gotrek is a dwarf slayer who he is a badass dwarf slayer. Most slayers die in their first encounter into combat. I don't know if you guys know what a slayer is. Do you guys know what a dwarf slayer is?
I don't think I've heard of them.
Yeah, me neither.
So a dwarf slayer is a dwarf who has obtained dishonor. And the only way they can get their honor back is by dying in honorable combat. Now, you can't just go out with your equipment and fight in honorable combat. No. You're supposed to strip naked and, armed with an axe or axes, and axes are the common one that dwarf slayers go with. But yeah, you're supposed to strip naked, arm yourself with your dwarven weapon. It has to be a melee weapon. And then you make an oath. You take an oath that you will dedicate yourself, your life, to the way of the slayer to regain your honor. And then you have to go out into battle and die. And when you die, you regain your honor. And you can't cheat the system. You can't. You have to obey the system. So it's not like you can just go down the street and, like, say you're Batman. If you're Batman and you take the Slayer's oath, you can't just go up to a street punk and beat him in the face. You have to say, all right, I'm looking for Superman. I have to defeat Superman or die. And that's the absurdity of the dwarf slayers. And like I said, most of them die in their first in combat encounter. And Gotrek is a guy who, and also part of the dwarf slayer code is, you have to give it your all. You have to be in your prime. You have to you can't hold back. You have to fight to the best. And you have to fight an enemy who is qualified or worthy. So Gotrek is a guy who, he fought his hardest. He fought to his best. And in every single fight and encounter, this man would not quit. To the point that when he finally did die, the god of death came to him and said, no, you're not done, and sent him back to life to fight and continue being a badass.
That has to suck, doesn't it? Hey, Gunner.
Hey, what's going on?
No, we're talking about Warhammer now.
Oh, okay. I was like, you guys are actually, it almost sounded like a plot from the game Rune. I was like, I'm not sure what I'm hearing, but this sounds familiar.
I played a dwarf slayer in Dungeons and Dragons. I might be picking him up again soon. Very
nice.
Soon,
Nice.
And I love the character. I didn't play him true to Warhammer lore.
Okay.
Warhammer lore, the dwarves are pretty miserable and grouchy over everything.
Right.
I played my guy very jovial.
Mhm.
His story was that he was a beer maker, and his brother was going off to war, and his brother said to him, "Hey, can you look after my wife and kids while I'm gone?" And he said, "I'll take care of them as if they're my own." And so he was doing good at that until about, I think, 2 or 3 years in. One of the sons gets eaten by a wolf.
Oof.
And so, dishonored, disgraced, he decided that, okay, I'm going to take the Slayer's oath because I didn't live up to my bond to my brother. I promised my brother this thing. I didn't live up to it. Off to the Slayer's oath I take. And the story I had when I was interacting with the other players in the campaign was he was very jovial, very happy, and everyone was like, what is wrong with this guy? That he's determined to kill himself, and yet he's such a nice guy. He's so happy. He's so joyful. And, I didn't explain it at the table, or I didn't explain it in character. I explained it out of character to the players. It's like, yeah, this guy, he knows he can die at any point in time. So for him, every moment of life is a moment he wants to make memorable. He wants to be appreciative of, because when he finds an opponent who's worthy of killing him, that's the end. And no one will know of his stories. No one will know anything of him. So, like, this is his goal.
Hey, Dan, does this person sound familiar? His character, does it sound like anybody you know?
Hmm. Well, what's
does this character sound like any person you know?
I don't know.
By value set? I'm kind of identifying with this guy. Jovial, doesn't care about death, expects it at any moment. I've got Crohn's disease, so.
What? So you?
Well, I would say I identify with this character quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
I've done brewmeister work. It's like I can tag on this guy really well. I like your character.
Yeah, there was a scene where we fought some thieves that ambushed us. The big bad had set them up to wait for us and ambush us. So we take them on. We capture one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the barbarian character is, in most games, is the guy who runs out there and slaughters people without thinking or strategy. So
yes,
I know how players are supposed. I know how D&D is supposed to be played. And so the players were over here. They're talking and whispering and arguing with each other over what to do next with this captive thief we have, because we want to go into town. But it's really suspicious if you're coming to town and you have one guy who's tied up at the wrist and you're dragging him along like he's a slave. So my guy gets sick and tired of listening to these guys bicker back and forth. Walks up to him, takes his axe, cuts the thief loose. And everyone's like freaking out at him. Like, what are you doing? And my guy then, he has like these hand axes. He has like 5 or 6 hand axes.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a hand axe, puts it in the thief's hand, and says, I'm going to let you go. Or I let you go, and I'm going to give you this weapon. And you're going to come with us to town. You're not going to try and run away. You're going to stay with us. And you're going to answer any questions we have for you. And the guy's like, okay, sure. Like, this thief is like, okay, sure. And everyone else is like, what are you doing? You can't trust this guy. And so my guy then says, okay, when I remove my hand from your hand and you have this axe in your possession, you are taking an oath to me that you will honor our agreement. And if you do not, I will personally kill you. And everyone's just like, oh my God, we're about to lose our dwarf. He's about to die because of this really stupid move.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dwarf then promptly turns his back to the guy and says, okay, problem solved. Let's all go to town and get drunk. And the thief then follows us. He goes with us. My guy offers to buy him a room with a hooker, offers to like, hey, we'll give you bedding and quarters and all this stuff.
Right.
And everyone's like, you can't trust this guy on his own. And my guy's like, you can. He's fine. Don't worry about him. And my guy buys him a drink and everything. The next day, everyone's like, so who slept with the thief? I didn't. Who slept? No one has eyes on the thief. What the hell? Sure enough, they come across my guy and the thief, and they're like, why didn't he run? And the thief then says, well, honestly, no one has ever treated me as kindly as you guys have.
Right.
The thief I was running with, they basically forced me to join them at knife point since I was a kid.
Right.
So it's like, and that's where we ended the campaign. We didn't get to pick up the game, but that's where we ended it. And I was like, that is so good. That I'm so glad this character got to be that awesome. And he ended on that note.
So I was teaching my son how to play D&D. He insisted on a dragonkin character. Now keep in mind he's like 8 or 9, right?
Yeah.
We start running as the little 3-man campaign, and with a friend who's offered to DM for us. And part of it is we're raiding a goblin camp. That's the mini campaign we're going to do, because they've gone raiding and trading. We're getting back at them. So just 2 people, dragonkin, entering the camp. And I do a survey. I figure out where the weak spots are, where the guards are, which building has the fewest people. We're going to invade the camp and start eliminating them one by one, right? And Mason's like, we don't have to kill them. I'm like, yeah, we do. Sorry, yes, we do. And he's like, no, we don't. I said, all right, well, then we'll do this. We're going to go, which one has the least amount of occupants? And he gives me a supply shed that has 1 goblin in it. So we go in there, and I basically start to interrogate him. Now, keep in mind, dragon can have their different breath devices.
Yes.
Mine was an ice. So I offer to give him a few hours of pain to make up his mind, or we can do this now. But realize that as I freeze you slowly, you will feel an encompassing death. You will become friends with it. You will feel it for hours, ever present, until I finally decide to give you some relief. Or you can tell us the layout of the camp. And my son is looking at me like, oh my God, Dad, I don't know if I want to play this game. But I tried to tell him, the idea is not that you're being cruel. It's that you're being adapted, son. Whatever it takes. Yep. Whatever it takes to win. Use your mind. It is the strongest ability that you have.
Yeah. And, wait till he dies.
Right.
Wait till he has his first character death.
Yeah. That hard. So my first death was a halfling night elf, right? But he'd been cursed. He was actually born with a tail, so he looked bestial, and nobody would adhere to him. So he was a hard character to play. And he had, on top of that, we'd gone through what was called the Black Razor campaign. It's a legitimate old advanced D&D campaign. But your blade is much akin to like the Morn blade. It sucks your soul if you don't kill somebody. So my sword killed me.
Oof.
Yeah, we camped too long. We waited too long between campaigns or whatever. I got into the campaign, and immediately my GM rolls the dice and goes, oh, by the way, you're dead. Oh, damn. Like I didn't even get to play it. I was like, that was personal, bro. He goes, no, that was roll the dice. You want to make another character for this campaign? I said, you're a dick. Like I had, there was a legitimate item called the Orb of Wishing. And depending on which DM you were with, they might limit it to 1 wish, 1 godly like supplication, which means it might not happen. It might be 3 wishes, whatever. And so the one we had, I rolled a double 20, right? So I got a masterful wish orb, meaning I could do anything with it that I wanted to. It might have a recharge time, like maybe even a month, but I could wish anything at any point. So my very first wish was to split it in half with my very best friend.
Wow.
So he limited it to 1 yearly wish, and it was a god supplication, meaning it may not happen. But it was a very powerful character, right? I could wish at the very end of a campaign that the guy just died of a heart attack, and it might happen.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. But then he killed my character because he's like, dude, honestly, it was too powerful. I'm going to kill that other character in a couple of campaigns. It's going to happen. Like, you're a dick. He goes, no, it's just it's the layout of it. You can only survive so long with this kind of power in this set. People will come after you.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, fair enough. But it was literally my own hubris. My sword.
Enough, fair enough. You need to make him suffer.
Right. Well, I suffered the ultimate suffering. I stopped breathing. It was a good idea. It was fun. It was really fun too because I was in middle school at the time, and we were we were playing, and I've told some of the other fellows this. I had a teacher who was watching us. And he said, "Hey, you guys know that if you like doing this and you don't mind doing it after school, I can sponsor you, get you some free pizzas while you play." And he goes, "And it'll make my pad my resume." We're like, "Oh, hell yeah!" So we did it 2 years in a row. And one year I was the secretary, and the next year I was the president. It was fun. It was fun. Yeah, and it also got me extracurriculars, right, on the college thing and all that.
Huh.
Yeah, it was bright. I liked it.
Yeah, I've never played one of those. Like, I always tell myself I'm going to play one of those one day, but I just have to find a way to make a spell sword on it. That's all I need to worry about.
So it sounds like you kind of do like maybe a bard or something.
I don't know. I still have to learn like what spell swords there are in D&D.
Yeah,
Like,
it would be right. A bard would be the closest representation, I think.
I guess like I was thinking something like kind of like The Witcher or Elric and Melda Bonet. It's like they use swords and magic. I like that combination.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I think one term is called a not a witch blade, a sword dancer.
yes, that's also yeah. It also, like I said, it fits into the bard because the bard, even though they're singing, it's still magic, and they do wield blades, usually short blades or half-handed blades or things like that. Anything that's instrument based. I actually had a bard one time that strung what I called a half-handed blade, which has the blade off the back end, but it has a long handle, and he strung it to play it, but he could also fight with it. Well, that's what I like about D&D. If you can imagine it, it can happen.
Yeah, the weirdest D&D character I've heard of was there was this one guy. I think he said his introduction to Conan was he played a barbarian in a D&D game.
Yeah, you can do it. There are Conan campaigns that people have written.
I want to play the Solomon Kane D&D game, but I can't afford it.
Yeah, I understand.
You can literally start D&D with all you need to play D&D is pen and paper and dice.
Yeah.
And you don't even need dice.
Like, no, you just find the rule set and set your own parameters. You can put your own odds on there.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a stat and odd driven, odds driven game. I could literally, like people on Twitter are putting up reference material. I have the Monster Manual and the D&D Player's Guide, the old ones, and I could probably start printing them over if you wanted to just follow some of the basic rules.
I do need to get my hands on a manual. Like I want to learn the rules of D&D first, so I know what I'm doing. The
Player's Handbook is what it's called. D&D Player's Handbook is the one you want.
Yeah, I'm trying to get not the 5th edition or the 4th edition. I'm trying to get the 2nd and 2.5 edition.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had the 1.0, and then they quickly revised that. But I kept a hold of it, and I had the original Monsters Manual. I may still have that in the basement of my parents' house.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a 3.5 guy.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's a good. I mean, it's solid. It's solid.
Oh, there's that one too. I'm just trying not to get the 5th edition because, like, at some point they went crazy.
Yeah, they went wham wham whizzle.
Well, 5th edition, like, I like 5th edition to an extent, but I have this game I play on Thursdays, and these guys, we had this whole like round the table discussion about some of the abilities and skills, and these guys were arguing with me like, oh no, if you allow the skills to do this, that, or the other thing, it makes the skills too overpowered than this other guy's skill level ability here that he gets at level 7. And I'm like, so what you're telling me is I shouldn't think, I should just walk up and smash. And they're like, well, no, we don't want you to do that. Like, you should be able to do what you think is good for the moment. I'm like, but what you're telling me is everything about 5e is very gamey. It's very video game like. It's walk up and just smash the target. You could be creative and say, all right, I want to try anticipating what this guy's weakness is. I want to try thinking about maybe I could flank him with a maneuver. But you're telling me that's a waste of my roll because this other guy has an ability that he gets at level 7 that if I wanted to do that thing, I should have played that guy and not use my skill check. And so
that's ridiculous.
We were going back and forth over this. And then the one guy, or I mentioned that I come from 3.5, and in 3.5 you can do all of these fantastical things.
Right.
The most senior player there, the former DM, actually still a DM, but the senior DM there, he's like, wait, did you say 3.5? I was like, yeah. He's like, that explains it. Now I understand where you're coming from. And I'm like, yes, you do. Now you do.
Yeah.
And my problem with 5th edition ultimately is the action system and how they work the action system. It's very limiting. And as you're saying, it's like, you don't think, it's like you have your main action, your movement action, your bonus action, your free action. That's it.
It sounds like you're playing a card game.
Yeah.
You have your set, you have your action, you have your post set, and your play out or your discard or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're done.
And in 3.5, my one buddy who's articulated great, he's like, he played in a game where he was a dwarf and he had to fight a giant. And the DM allowed him to roll to actively climb up this giant. He's jumping from the shins to the knees, from the knees to the thighs to the hips.
Yeah.
Like he had to roll. And I know for a fact, I know the DM, I'm like, he didn't just like, okay, you jump from the shin to the knee. That's your turn. Turn over.
Right.
Next person. It's like, no. Give this guy his moment in the light. Let him keep rolling until he possibly fails. He might fall.
Right. Yeah. Let him be heroic.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I see in 5e whenever I play with the 5e players. They're not creative. They're just like, these are my abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I can do.
Well, we used to have what we used to call not culmination. What was the moment? They called it an apex moment, right? So at an apex fight, you were allowed to take a subset roll, like what you're saying. Guys, we're going to isolate this. We're going to do this. We're going to roll this one out. This fight is happening, right? And it was very similar to what you said, but we would subset rule it.
Well, right.
Certain limitations, certain areas of effect, certain ground rules, like you cannot escape. There's a definite ring out. If you ring out, he stabs you in the back. We have definite rules here.
Well, there's every book, every D&D book has this little caveat in it, and it's fantastic. It's a great caveat, and a lot of players miss it, but a lot of players know it exists. It's the DM's word is law.
Mm-hmm.
So the DM at any point in time can say, that rule doesn't apply here.
There's a term for it, is your DM is greater than God.
Yes.
What? He tells God what to do. It goes from DM to God to you.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, that's a fantastic rule that is in every single Dungeons and Dragon book. But
Mm-hmm.
it's also advised, it's like always that I've read, it's always in like the first page when they tell you how to DM.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can trump any rule if you feel the circumstance for your campaign or your story is necessary.
Well, and that's just it. Your ultimate price for making those decisions that people may not want to play with you again, but that's on you, right?
Correct.
That's on you.
Yes.
Dan, did you ever play D&D?
Years ago.
Okay, because Nathan already said he never played, so I mean, we've established that. Did you play extensively or just for a short while? What was your deal?
I don't know about extensively or for a short while. I played really occasionally, but when I played occasionally, I got obsessed with it, and I had to stop myself because it took up most of my time.
Gotcha. No, and it is a detail-oriented game that you can get lost in the minutia. I understand that. When you get into over-design mode, because I had friends that used to have to draw not just their character, but the landscape, the village they came from, the design of the. I'm like, guy, appreciate it. So wonderful, but ugh.
I tried to get back into it during high school, but I had too many ambitions and too much work. So I only played a couple rounds a month, and then I stopped.
Makes sense. I've got a friend, like I say, he tests EverQuest, but he keeps a D&D table game going on Thursday evenings, I want to say. And they're kind enough to Discord it, so I can just sit and listen to the campaigns. And I purposely tell them, keep me muted. I don't want to involve myself. But I really love listening to a great game. Love it. Did you guys ever see a movie called Unicorn City?
No.
Okay, so it's a really cute movie. It's a B flick, and you should find it. Try to find it sometime. It's right up there in my mind with Bun Raku for being one of those movies at the gym that nobody knows. But it's basically they're playing a tabletop game, and his GM is being a dick. If you know the original Fright Night movie, it's the actor that played the werewolf in that. He was also in Real Genius as the guy that was the genius underneath the building. It's that actor.
Yeah.
And he's wonderful in it, but he plays a really jerky DM who the main character is a bard who has a girl who's playing a high elf priestess, and she's got a real life crush on him, and he kind of just doesn't realize it. And then they basically get kicked out of the tabletop game by a bunch of people who are being elitist, and he winds up getting pissed off, and he creates his own LARP. And it is a great movie. It's really heartfelt, like that, like even like just some of the things that they do to get the effects. Like you see one point where all of a sudden a guy picks up a string and they hook on a bottle rocket and he lights it, goes fireball, and stuff like that. It's just really super cute because even when they win, they have to go and do the classic D&D EverQuest pose. Bard with sword in the air, girl splaying one leg out far behind her on the ground. And you see her struggle to get in that position and she holds it with all sincerity. It's so great. It's such a good movie.
Mm. Okay, well, I found the gloves, so where are those dice now?
I will be right back.
All right.
I have dice that I could use in a D&D game. I just don't remember what I did with them.
You move around a lot, don't you?
No, I misplace things sometimes.
Oh, fair enough. Would it be packed away in gear, or would it be in a place that you just tucked it in a corner?
It'd be in a spot in the room. I thought I left it on my bookshelf, but I don't see it now.
We always find that our tubes of dice always wind up for whatever reason in my Magic the Gathering box, and I don't know how it ever gets there.
Yeah, I have no idea where it is. That's gonna drive me nuts. I hate when stuff disappears on me.
Yeah, a buddy that works just started working for my girlfriend in the office. He found out that we play MTG and MTG Arena, and he's like, "Well, what kind of cards you got?" And I said, "What do you play? I got a rat deck. I got a old school sliver deck. I got pure greens. I got Celtic Wanderer. I got what do you want? I got all the old school. I got the BFG card. We've got the Black Lotus. What do you want to play?" He goes, "You have Black Lotus?" I said, yeah. I've never ripped it up, but yeah, I got it. Do you know what the Black Lotus card is?
No, I don't.
You rip the card up, you throw it above your head all over the table, and it has an effect. It's just really funny. You have to destroy your card to use it. Physically destroy it.
Yeah, let me check my closet. Maybe I put it in there.
Nathan, come out of the closet. Sorry.
In there. Oh, this is going to drive me nuts.
Oh, a little late, but okay.
Yeah, true. I'm already nuts.
I'll tell you what's really great about today. My mother-in-law is here. Her tires have that nitrogen charge, right? Usually it costs money to get that stuff refilled. We took it down to Discount Tire, and they just did it for free, which, hey, happy holidays. I thought that was really wonderful of them.
Oh, man, damn, I was saving this for a D&D game one day, but at least I found my archery glove.
I used to have pure copper D&D dice, and they were really great because they had all the natural flaws that copper gets in them whenever you try to cast it. They're awesome. I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah, I'm just glad I found this glove because I went back to shooting my bow recently. I hurt the shit out of my fingers doing it, though, because I don't have the glove.
I need the little forearm guard because of the way that I grip, it always tears my forearm up.
I've hurt my forearm a little, like it's gotten itchy, but beyond that, I'm fine. It's just the two fingers I used to pull back the bow with. They get hurt if I don't have this glove on.
You know what's weird is I pull a bow with my ring finger and middle finger. I don't know which ones you use.
I use my middle finger and the finger you point with.
Okay, yeah, index. Yeah, most people do. I just, for whatever reason, it hurts my index knuckle to pull with that kind of pressure. I don't know what it is, but I don't enjoy it. So I have to use the ring finger. I feel more stable. I don't know. It feels like my elbow locks in a little better too.
Where the hell did that jag off?
My cousin used to shoot 125-pound compound bow. I never could draw that thing. I can barely draw a 45-pound. I'm so weak in my back and shoulders. Like in that area, just that type of maneuver. I can climb ropes and houses and shit, but I can't pull a bow very well.
Crom, damn it, this is going to drive me nuts.
I did try to shoot an English longbow once. You know, the ones that's 5 feet tall? Nah,
Oh,
that didn't
those
happen.
are hard. Those are hard.
That didn't happen. I was like, I can't do this. I also went to Hawaii and I could not play the log drums. And I'm a drummer for life, but it takes power to play those things.
I swear, sometimes my luck is a joke.
You have luck, it's just on the bad side.
So what's going on with you guys?
Trying to find some guys.
Yeah, I took the mother-in-law around town, got a bunch of things done that she needed to get some money in the bank and things like that.
Oh, I'm just watching Jim Carrey go through a nihilistic mental breakdown on video.
Nice. What's the cause?
Well, people say this was after he lost his girlfriend to suicide, so that's probably why he's acting like this.
Oh, which girlfriend? I didn't know.
Yeah, there's been this incident where he lost his girlfriend to suicide, and since he went on not SNL, since he went on, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon? I don't remember. It was one of the Jimmys.
Mm-hmm.
Since he went on one of those talk shows and tried to unmask the Illuminati. Like he literally says the Illuminati. There's this big conspiracy theory that the Illuminati killed his girlfriend because his girlfriend died shortly after that whole incident. It was all played for laughs, but people believe that Jim went against the demand of the secret societies, and as a result, they punished him. But
Do you think that's accurate?
I don't know. I really don't. I'd like to believe so, but there's not enough information for me to assume so. It's just a popular theory.
Yeah, I mean that conspiracies are fun, especially when they pan out, right?
Well, look, it's like I only know Jim through movies, and I've been a big fan of him as an actor, but I never dug up much into his personal life. I don't have enough information to prove any of that. I'm just saying what I've heard and seen from other people.
The only thing that I do know about him from just observing him physically, is that if you watch from movie to movie, you'll notice that his teeth go from being ground to being recapped to being ground to being recapped, which means he does either a lot of meth or a lot of cocaine. One of the two. He continually grinds his jaw.
Honestly, I could believe that.
Yeah, you can see it. And you can see it from film to film, the stress that it does to him. When he was with Jenny McCarthy, was when you noticed it the most. And she's one of those people that she's compulsively plastic surgery. So it's not beneficial to be around people like that because then you start to buy into that mindset.
Honestly, it's funny seeing him act wacky and such, but there's a part of me that thinks that he actually might be legit crazy.
Well, did you ever see his stage acts when he was 17 and 18 when he was doing the Montreal comedy festivals and stuff? He's always been funny, and he's always been physical.
He's a master comedian.
But he was very intelligent. When you watch him when he was younger, he had things to say. He wasn't just acting weird. He had intelligent jokes.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
It's just,
but he's not afraid of cutting edge either, so.
No, it's just the energy he gives off. Sometimes it feels very genuine.
Yes.
No matter what role he plays.
You're right. He has that ability, like Robin Williams, to bring apart that gentler side that you really feel the humanity and you really feel the suffering, maybe? That's kind of behind the funny.
Yeah.
I thought one of his masterful ones was Me, Myself, and Irene.
I don't know. Just some things to me aren't normal. Like when Heath Ledger locked himself in his hotel room for like a whole weekend and acted like the Joker in there just to perfect his craft since he's a method actor. It's like, look, it's I'll give him that. That's like hardcore. But hearing that, there's nothing about that sounds normal to me.
Right.
I think
aren't exactly normal people.
What did you say, Nathan?
Actors aren't exactly normal people.
Yeah, I know Keegan likes to say that it's normal process, but it's Keegan saying that.
Method is never normal. Method is not normal. Method is extreme.
Yeah.
It is. When you isolate your brain to believe an absolute untruth, that's extreme.
Yeah.
There's a method to madness, though.
I agree with it as a form of art because if you're okay, so like there's that. If you watch The Good Place, there's a demon that states, acting, acting is reacting, and reacting is pre-acting, and pre-acting, well, that's just being. And you're like, okay, so that's method acting. You have to be the character in order to prepare to be the character.
Right.
You have to live it. You have to feel it. You have to breathe it, or you are not it.
It's funny how you say that.
That's true, though. Like method acting is all in the motion and the feel. Consider it to be muscle memory.
Muscle memory is pretty hard to do.
Yeah. That's why we train. That's why you draw 500 hands and 500 positions. It sucks. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody ever want to do it, but you have to do it if you're going to draw hands. Hands suck.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Hands do suck.
They really do. Look at your original Spawn and McFarlane Spider-Man. Hands are ugly. He does ugly hands.
Yeah, his dialogue also could have done with some better work.
Yeah, but that's
I'm back.
teamwork right there.
Hey,
You should
Bats.
have brought somebody in.
Yeah. And just looking for some dice while you were gone.
What died?
Dice. I'm looking for my dice still.
Yeah.
I have a special bag of tricks specialized for it,
Oh.
for my dice.
Yeah, no, I kept them in a little tube thing because I bought them a few months ago. But I forgot what I did with them.
Did you stick it in something so that it was convenient, like shape, size kind of thing, maybe?
No, I kept it on top of a bookshelf where I keep movies.
Did it roll to the back of the bookshelf where you're not able to see it?
I looked behind it. Yeah, it's not there either.
Okay. Did it fall between the back end of the shelf and go down lower?
No.
Okay.
It.
He's trying to be helpful.
Oh, I mean, I'm detective by heart.
Oh no, he's helping. He's giving me some helpful stuff to consider. It's just it doesn't appear that way.
So what helps is that I'm functionally almost blind in that one eye. So a lot of what I do is like mentalization.
Ah, very good.
Yeah. I was telling Dan yesterday, like when I was 5 years old, this kid hucked one of those good old fashioned Tonka trucks with a nice metal bed on it, hit me in the left temple and nicked my optic nerve, swelled up that side of my brain and all that. So I have like semi psychedelic vision in my left eye. It'll every once in a while just flare and mix colors like blues and purples and stuff don't look right.
Wow, shit.
Yeah. It's fun. Should drive at night like that sometime.
No, I've had my share of psychedelic trips.
Yeah,
Not
psychedelics are
fun
beneficial. They're good.
Not the fun kind where you have drugs involved, like just living life and getting clocked in the head, or just a sickness or a fever. Not
the one that
right.
got me, I ironically a Tonka truck again. I had one in my pocket of my jacket for whatever reason, and my friend shoved me over. I landed on it, knocked the wind out of me, and all of a sudden I could like hear people talking 3 blocks down, but I couldn't hear the person next to me talking. It was weird.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like I wasn't seeing things right. My brain was not operating correctly, and it was concentrating on the wrong things. It was weird.
Yeah, someone tried throwing something at you, and you caught it out of the corner of your eye. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Couldn't leap or jump tall buildings, but
Right. Well, and that was kind of like I almost wish that I had been able to retain it because it was really weird. I was literally looking at somebody, and I could see their lips move and everything. Could hear everything they said. I even went and confirmed it with them later. Like, yeah, that's what we were talking about. Weird. That just tells me that humans have an ability that we don't tap into as far as like how sensitive we really are. We tend to focus on what we realize and not what is.
I wish I could just tap into creative output more. Like I could just write page upon pages in one day. I wish I could tap into that.
Yeah, it'll happen. I find that lucid moments are best perform like when you're tired, first wake up, first go to bed kind of thing. Take the moment, like the Salvador Dali thing where he used to put the spoon on his hand and he'd wake up as soon as it would fall and he would quickly paint whatever it was that his brain was doing at the time. That's how he came up with the melting clocks and the ants and all that stuff. Yeah. But it's a creative moment. It's a really great creative moment. The brain is just about to dream. It's just about to go lucid. You're tapping into your subconscious, which is where your creativity resides.
Okay, this is
Take this from a person who is not creative, by the way. I don't have creative bent.
I in one of my games, I articulated acid trip. This is someone who actually has experience in acid trip. Someone's murmuring.
1 second, the phone's drowning you out. Dan, answer your phone.
Yeah, I'll figure out where the turn on button is sooner or later, I think.
Can I make this ring louder?
But yeah, I was articulating an acid trip in one of my tabletop games, and I was describing it to a player who had experienced an acid trip, and her reaction was, you were pretty spot on with your description. Are you sure you haven't done anything in your life? I'm like, yeah, I haven't. I just kind of I've listened to people who've been on acid trips and their way of articulating things and visuals and things like that. So I was like, I have a pretty good idea what it's like, and from my own experiences, I have an idea.
Watch the Beavis and Butthead trip when you go into that area where Rob Zombie's doing the mental trip. It's severe, but it's not completely far off. It's a little bit overboard, but it does have that quality where it's just so surreal, moment to moment. You may have complete connections for like 50 minutes. All of a sudden, you forget everything and you don't even know where you're at. But as long as you're in a comfortable spot with good people, that's not a problem.
I think I'm going to end this one here because I got a weird notification earlier. I don't know if my time thing's running out or not. So good having y'all on as usual. So
Appreciate you having us.
Oh yeah, it's always fun talking to people on here. It's better than the videos I normally make.
Good talking.
Anytime you invite me, I'll try to make time. Thank you for having me.
Yep. See you guys around.
Bye.